You guys traded up for Dante Pettis 2 years ago. Coming to the end of his second season now, how would you evaluate him, and do you expect him to be active or see the field on Sunday?
Yeah, well, he's been active the past month, so I'm not announcing our actives and inactives yet, but we'll see. But yeah, Dante helped us out a lot at the end of last year, helped us out at times this year. I know it hasn't gone exactly how he's wanted it to or us, but and some other guys have come in and stepped up, but I believe in Dante. He has helped us this year, and I believe he'll help us more next year.
Gentleman on the right, second row.
Kyle, can you talk about the work that Wes Welker has done this season as its first time as the receivers coach?
Yeah, Wes has done a great job. He had a couple years in Houston, get some good experience. Everyone knows about his career and how unbelievable it was, and to get with us, it was his first time in our type of scheme, just verbiage-wise and everything, and he's worked his tail off trying to pick it all up in the offseason, and he's done a great job coaching those guys throughout the season.
All right, gentlemen in second row in the middle.
Kyle, I don't think you used a fullback much in Atlanta, but you guys obviously decided to invest in Kyle, and we've been trying to kill that position for years. What was it about him that made you guys want to invest in him, and what does he bring to your offense?
Kyle just has all the skill set to do anything that you want at that position. We used it a good amount in Atlanta. I still think we were the top in the league, but we've used it a lot more since we've been here. And a lot of that's been just how our personnel's worked out. You look at what you have, and you base it off the matchups you go against, and all the versatility that Kyle can do in the run and the pass game, all the stuff we can put on his plate, the type of football player he is, just at how natural it is. He always has an assignment on who to block, but he knows the time and place when it'll help to go to someone else, and that's something you can't really coach. Guys just have to understand the big picture, and he can pick all that stuff up mentally, and he's very talented too.
Third row, right side, Eric Branch.
Hey, Kyle, a lot of coaches and players, when they talk about, looking back at their first Super Bowl experience, they say there's like a, holy smokes, I'm in the Super Bowl moment, whether it's all the photographers or just the vibe of the atmosphere. I know you're in the box, for your Super Bowl, but was there that kind of moment for you, like, okay, this is not just any other game?
Not really, just because I think I understand it before I came. I think I've always somewhat understood what it is, so I know how big of a deal it is to get here, and kind of let that soak in. I gave myself about 2 days after that NFC Championship game, and then nothing really surprises you after that. You know how big of a deal it is to the country, even around the world, and I think it's always been my favorite time of the year, whether I've been coaching or watching. I'm a huge fan of football too, and it was usually a time I always tried to take a week off school, even though my parents wouldn't let me. But mentally I did. I was always focused on the Super Bowl, and it's cool to just be here and be a part of it.
All right, front row here, Chris Biederman.
Kyle, what was your vantage point in the 1994 Super Bowl when you were a ball boy, and how much did that team sort of shape your view of football just as a whole?
I think every year has shaped it somehow. But that year I was on the sidelines that game. Definitely wasn't allowed to cross the 30. I had to stay with most of the media guys. I was always that annoying kid jumping in front of all the media people trying to do their job and blocking their perfect shot, as they would tell me, to get the heck out of the way. But it was great just being down there, being a part of that stuff, being on the field after, just being able to wander around the locker room and try to collect anybody's gloves who left them around, anything like that. And players were such nice and good people to me at a young age, and I see our guys do it the same to other people, and being able to bring my son around and stuff and watch how they treat him, it's something I felt very fortunate to have growing up, and it's been cool to give my kids the same.
We're going to stay in the front row, Nick Wagner.
How is Jaquiski Tartt coming along, and when you got him back, how much of a difference did he make in the back end, particularly just in terms of communication?
Huge. Marcel came in and did a very good job for us. Played at a high level, and we were able to win a lot of games with him. But just getting Tartt back out there, Tartt's got a lot of ability, but he's been playing in this system a little bit longer. He's been in this league for a while. Him and Jimmy have they connect very well back there. I know they went to high school and stuff. I'm sure they weren't doing the same calls and stuff back then, but Tartt is a very smart player. He's very aware. He's one of our better communicators back there. And some guys like to talk. Some guys are kind of just silent assassins out there. And when you have a lot of more silent guys, it's a big deal when you lose the communicator, and that's why it helped a lot to get Tartt back.
All right, gentlemen in the middle aisle and back.
Kyle, before the opportunity arose to get Jimmy, what kind of qualities and traits were you looking for in a guy that would make him a franchise quarterback as you were looking out on who you might acquire?
I mean, you always want a quarterback. To me, it always starts with the thrower. You want a guy who's capable of making every throw, and it's effortless. If you have to really work at throwing and really work at all that stuff, to me, it's you better have another skill asset that's very elite to give you a chance. But for me, it always started with how good can they play in the pocket, because eventually someone's going to make you play there. So it starts with, do they have the capability in their arm, and then do they just have the natural mindset of being able to feel space, being able to react to coverages and stuff like that. Definitely takes a certain intelligence level, but that's definitely not everything. I mean, sometimes you get guys who are so smart and stuff, they just can't play the game when they're in the pocket. And then you get some guys who are just very smooth out there and can react. And so all that goes hand in hand. Everything after that's a bonus. You love a guy who can make plays with his legs and do stuff when it's off schedule. But you also need a guy who is able to handle the pressure, because no matter how talented you are, no matter what you are, I mean, there's going to be a time where you lose a few games in a row, and the whole world's going to usually come down on the quarterback regardless. And you got to have guys who can handle that. And playing football is important, not just being told how good they are. So you can constantly be hard on them and challenge them to be better each week.
Kyle, clearly a couple more days to go, but I don't think we're going to talk to you until the game. Just talk what you thought about this week, the way your players have addressed it. Have you seen anything that you like, seen anything maybe that you haven't liked over these few days here in Miami?
No, it's been pretty cool because, this year there was 2 times we went away and stayed away for the week. So this is our 3rd time we've had a trip away for a week as a team. And it's been really the exact same schedule. So the guys have been very used to it. What's changed is at night we've had an hour media obligation 3 of the nights that we've been here. So that's been different. Besides that, we've been able to keep the routine the same. Right now, right after this, we're exactly on our routine. I know our families are going to get here tonight, so are always on our schedule. We get out a little bit earlier on Thursday, so hopefully the guys can see their families tonight like they would on a normal Thursday. Tomorrow it'll be the same routine. We'll be doing red zone again and putting that stuff in. You get out somewhat earlier and make it an early Friday night, and we'll have our Saturday walkthrough. And we usually go to the hotel on Saturdays. We're already here, so that'll be smooth, and we'll be ready to go.
Gentleman in the back, right.
Kyle, Christoph from Germany. Could you talk about Mark and Zotcher? I asked Sherman about him, and he said he's like an air condition in a car, a luxury, but you need it. So could you talk about your linebacker? That's what he said.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
I'm not as smart as Sherm. That's awesome. That's exactly what he's like. No, Zotch has been great. He's been here since we've gotten here. He's really made a place for himself on special teams. He started for us last year at Sam linebacker when we played him more on the ball, and he's stepped up and had to go in games this year when there's been some injuries to help us out on defense. But he's played special teams at a very high level, and he's one of the guys that's it would have been hard to get here without him.
Hey, Kyle. We've heard that Tyrann Mathieu, sometimes when he makes a big play, will like to point out to the offensive play caller that he's in their head and essentially taunt that coach. Have you ever experienced anything like that from a defensive player, maybe even Tyrann in all your years calling plays? And secondly, do you ever then kind of formulate a game plan around an aggressive player like that likes to guess and make plays like that?
Yes, definitely. I don't think I've gotten it with Tyrann yet. I'm sure he'll have his moments on Sunday. So, but I got a lot of respect for him. There's some guys who guess and are reckless, and there's some guys who are very prepared and take very good, educated guesses, and he's one of those guys. So he's a hard guy to get. There's a matter of time. He's going to make plays. I think he's one of the main reasons their defense has been this good. I've seen him a lot over his career, and I think he's at the top of his game now. But yeah, you get that here and there from players. I've gotten better at avoiding it, not enjoying back in the talk like I used to a little bit more when I was younger. Now that I'm much older, that I turned 40, feel more mature with that and try not to get too caught up in it. But yeah, it's usually just fun and games, but especially when it's a player like that. I don't consider him a hothead. I think he gives a lot of people respect, and I think he enjoys playing.
Gentleman in the front right here. Over here.
Kyle, Jonathan Simmons from Real Talk Sports in Atlanta. So you mentioned earlier before you've had a lot of experience in the Super Bowl, obviously with offensive coordinator with us, but also your history as growing up with your dad. How much has that impacted you as far as your ability now, with you being the head coach, to kind of keep a calm demeanor with the rest of your team as you get ready for this game?
I mean, I'm sure it has. But I mean, I've just been around him my whole life, so I don't totally know exactly how to answer it. But I mean, I remember going to him all the time when I was little, and I went to three, but I think three before 7th grade, and I think the closest game that my dad had been a part of, and then I think they lost by 19. The third one he went to was 55-10. The fourth one he went to where it was with the Niners, and they were able to win. It was up to that point that I didn't think AFC teams could win, because I was used to the other side. And then I remember going back when my dad was on the Broncos, and it had been 13 years since the AFC had won, and I just was used to going there and getting blown out. So that's kind of what I thought in high school was going to happen. And then I could tell hanging around, my dad hanging around the team and stuff, they didn't think that at all, which surprised me at first as just a fan. And it was cool to see the confidence of them and stuff, and then to watch that play out on the field versus the Packers that year. That was one of my favorite days of my life, and something I'll never forget. And I know that made me love the sport even more.
Kyle, I've talked to a number of players over the years about you, and they've said that you're not only one of the smartest coaches that they've ever been around, but that you're one of probably the most intellectually honest coach they've ever been around. I'm wondering how you figured out how to kind of relate to today's players in a way that maybe is unique.
I feel like I don't try. I feel like I just try to be myself. And when you're around good players who have similar intentions to you, I don't mean good players, good people as players, I think it comes off pretty natural. I think we got a lot of good guys in our room. I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. I'm just trying to be myself. And I think we got a good atmosphere in our building. Starts with our owners, to our general manager, to everyone in there. And I think everyone's themselves. And I'll probably keep being myself the rest of my life. So eventually that'll probably be old and outdated. So I got to take advantage of it now, I guess.
Gentleman on the outside right by this.
Hey, Kyle. Being a head coach is like being a chess player. You're moving, doing time management, calling the right plays in the right situation. Is there a time that you've seen watching film that you've seen Andy Reid make a pretty interesting move with time management or with play call that made you look across and say, you know what, that guy's pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done it his whole career. I mean, that's when you're a coach. I mean, that's what you look at. I mean, you watch the game two ways. Sometimes you watch it because you're looking at personnel and matchups and trying to understand the talent, and then you got to look at it completely from a schematic standpoint, and how guys set people up, the way they call plays, whether it's an offensive guy or a defensive guy. And Andy, I've been watching Andy since I've gotten in the league, so being able to watch him at Philly and having all that tape, and then to watch him go to Kansas City and do it with different quarterbacks, and to watch how he evolves with that. And it's always the foundation of what he believes in, but he's going to always adjust to his personnel and things like that. And he's had different personnel throughout his tenure, and he's always been a very fun guy to watch, and that's why he's one of the best.
All right, second row on the left here.
Hey, Kyle. I want to take you back about 2.5 years to your first win. It was a comeback win, and I was talking to some of the guys. They said they celebrated that win like it was the Super Bowl. What do you remember about that game, and have you had a chance at any point this week to reflect on that first victory?
Yeah, I mean, I think we think about that a lot. I mean, starting 0-9 was not fun at all, and your first year as a head coach, you kind of want to get that monkey off your back and at least get one win in. I think we had to wait till like the middle, towards the end of November, or I think it was the beginning of November, which was a lot longer than I anticipated. So it did feel like we won the Super Bowl after it. I think it was nice to have. We were in so many close games. I mean, we broke an NFL record by losing 5 games in a row by 3 points or less, which is something you're not proud of, but it means you're a good 0-9, I guess. So if that doesn't make sense, but yeah, I mean, we were pumped. Our players, we were fighting every week, and all of our guys, it wasn't just me, it was everybody. We had a lot of guys, it was their first year in the league, a lot of guys who hadn't played much, and we put a lot in every week, and we came up short a ton. And we won that game, and it felt huge. I remember we lost the next game, so we probably did enjoy it a little bit too much, and you learn from those lessons. And the one thing about that year I was the most proud of, there's been a number of teams who've started 0-9, but no team had ever finished with more than 3 wins, and we were able to finish 6-10 that year. So I've said it before, but I learned a lot that if you want to get people excited about a 6-10 year, just start 0-9, and everyone's real excited going in the off season.
Front row right here on the end.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, on a personal level, have you had that discussion with your dad at all, what it would mean? I mean, talk about like a father-son moment, what it would mean to be that duo, the father-son duo that has a Super Bowl championship. Not trying to jinx anything, but...
No, we honestly haven't. Those are things that you find out because someone sends it to you or something, and you look at it, and I mean, I think it's cool like anybody else does. So does my dad. It's neat when you see it, but I mean, winning a Super Bowl is as good of something that I could have imagined for my dad growing up, and then to have the chance to do it for myself. There's not much more I can imagine in that in sports. So I mean, I don't think of the other stuff. I mean, that's pretty cool, and that'll be neat to say someday if that does happen. But I mean, just winning a Super Bowl is enough, and that kind of consumes you.
All right, Josina in the middle here.
When you look at what the Chiefs defense did to Derrick Henry in the second half of the AFC Championship game, can you talk about how necessary it is to have Coleman combined with Mostert from the standpoint of spelling Mostert and also giving them a separate look from what just happened with you guys against the Packers and the likelihood or lack thereof that he would have the same type of performance again in the Super Bowl, that being Raheem?
Yeah, I mean, when all our backs are healthy, we usually use all of them. So, and you know, whoever gets the hot hand ends up going. We all know that was Raheem mostly the second half of the year. Tevin had his time versus Minnesota, and they both helped in the Green Bay game, but we know how big Raheem was. Hopefully we'll have all those guys going full speed. I expect them to be. But, you know, Kansas City, I mean, they can take away what they want to take away. So, that's the key to these games when you go against good defenses is you got to be able to do everything. And, of course, everybody wants to run the ball. But there's going to be time in that game, who knows when, they're going to take that away. And you got to be able to counteract that. And when you counteract that, it opens up other stuff. And that's how you keep people off balanced. And the more you can do both, the better you'll do, and vice versa for them.
All right, this is our last one. Jennifer Chan here on the left.
John Lynch spoke about how Jimmy Garoppolo kind of thrives under the scrutiny and pressure from you. Is that something that is unique to him? Is that something that you really appreciate in his demeanor?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's just fun because there's no BS to Jimmy. You don't have to play any games with him. You don't have to sit there and tell him how much you care about him or anything. He knows I do. I mean, we're good. And he doesn't have to tell me anything like that either. We're all right. So we just live each day together. I go coach him hard when I need to, and I'm cool with him when I'm not, when I don't need to be. And every day is kind of the same. I mean, when Jimmy's very hard on himself, he likes you to get on him because I think it helps him focus, just like it does me also. I mean, Jimmy goes as hard as he can, and we're both ourselves, and we don't deviate from that at all. And I think just getting to know him and being with him over these few years, it has been a good match because I think our personalities match out well together, and we help bring out the best in each other.